Hello buddies, welcome back to this masterclass for the beginners. In this lesson of today, we are going to talk about HTML. In the previous lesson, we learned a few things and we learned about how to install sublime texts. We discussed about the title, heading, the HTML tags, and of today, guys, we are going to learn about HTML attributes. So welcome once again, is your guy here, the Wolf. So let's get started. Okay, so HTML attributes provides additional information about HTML elements. So HTML attributes, all HTML elements can have attributes, and attributes provide additional information about elements. And also attributes are always specified in the start tags. Lastly, attributes usually come in name value pair, like name equal to quote value over there. So let's talk about the href attributes. So the href, which is actually the anchor tag, defines the hyperlink. So the href attributes specify the URL of the page the link goes to. For example, if I write here something like, let me just hit there, and if I write something like a, then href like that, and then I put in some link, let's say www.varicom.co.com, just like that, and then I close it. I can write here and say that visit Safcom, just like that. Then I end it with a backslash over there, just like that. So this is just a link in href. So I should have actually written something here in this paragraph to just clarify what I'm doing. So I just write here, let's say the title is, let's just leave the title alone. Let's change this paragraph here, and let's say HTML link are defined with a tag, just like that, and hold on a little bit. So I put there a comma just like that. I can even hit there and continue in a new line and say the link, this is just another way of explaining. Address is specified in the href attribute, just like that. And now I can put my link here just like this, and I can say visit, I already said visit Safaricom, just like that. And then the link is just like there. So the link is normally placed within the href tag here. So if I save this and open it with a browser, what do we see? So we have our link here. So if I click this, I will definitely visit this website. So let's again talk about, so one thing that we have learned here is that we can embed a link just like that in a page, and we can be able to visit the website, but we will talk later about this. So let's talk about the source attribute. So the image, for example, the image tag is used to embed an image in HTML page. So the source attribute specify the path to the image to be displayed. So how do we do that? So we just write simply like, and we just simply write like this, image, just like that, and the source, we actually specify where we get the image from. So the image, for example, I can go to my desktop, for example, image, say image dog, and then .jpg, just like that. But here now, for example, I need a picture from my desktop here. Where are the pictures? Images are here. So I need, let's say, this one over here. Okay, let me just pick this and rename it first of all. I just want to rename it and show more options. Rename it to, let's say, girl. Okay, just like that. So copy this, and which type is image? It is JPG. So if I want to take this picture and use it in my website, I just you see it's on the desktop right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this path just like that, copy the whole path, control copy, and then I come back to my code just here, and then I embed it over here. So this is the source, just like that, and then 1 backslash just like that, and the name of the image. So the name of the image is girl.jpg, just like that, and then I save. So if I save this and I load this, I'll get the image. So let's do it. Let's see whether we're doing the right thing over here. There you go. So you can see the image is just right here. So that's how we use the image. That's how we use the tag img to get the image. So let's talk about, so actually there are 2 ways to specify the URL in the source attribute. The first one is the absolute URL, which links to an external image that is hosted on another website. For example, let's say the source, which is www. Whatever their website, maybe any website, okay, and then backslash, and then the image folder, and just like that. I mean, so one thing that you have to note about the external images might be under a copyright. So if you do not get the permission to use it, you may be in a violation of copyright laws. So in addition, you cannot control external images. It can certainly be removed or changed, so we cannot really rely on the external images. Another way is a relative URL, which links to an image that is hosted within the website. So here the URL does not include the domain names. So if the URL begins without a slash, it will be relative to the current page. For example, if actually, let me just remove this. I'll just write something down here. If the source, let's say the source is, okay, let me just remove this. So if the source is just like, it's within the page, we'll just say image, the backslash, let's say this image, which was the girl, right? It was actually the girl. It was, how did I, and what was the name of the girl? It was like, oh yeah, that one. So if that one, because let's say that now it is in the page, for example, the page that I'm writing right now, so it should be girl, and just like that, dot jpg. Simple as this. If it was within this file, so this is relative. Okay, so if the URL begin with a slash, that means it is another folder. It will be relative to the domain. Example, let's say if it is like this, and yeah, now that will belong to a domain. So tips: it's almost always best to use the relative URL. They will not break if you change the domain. As simple as that. So let's talk about the width and the height attributes. So in the image here, let me just Control Z and see whether I can get what was there. Okay. Yeah, there. So in this image tag should also contain the width and the height attribute, which specify the width and the height of the image in pixel. So when we say, like for example here, come back here and say the width is equal to 500, and then the height is, where am I? Yeah, the height is actually, let's say 600. So this specifies the height and the width of the image. So if I run this, you can see that the image has another shape. Now this one, this was the previous one. Let's roll it, so you can see it has got 600 and 500 there. But I think you should take a small width there. Let me say 200 and 150 pixel width. Pixel are these small tiny lines of the screen. So those are the one that we count. So here let me just say 300, right? 300. Let me just save it and load it. So you can see how that width and height actually control. So we also have another alternative attribute. This requires alternative attribute for the image. So if the image is not there, there is always an alternative. So this specify an alternate text for an image. If the image for some reason cannot be displayed, this can be due to slow connection or an error in the source attribute, or if the user uses a screen reader, you see. So we normally use alternative here. We just put an alternative text here. So let's assume that the picture is not there, right? Maybe the link is broken, so that one is now broken. So there is always an alternative that we put there. So let me just put this alternative here. So I can say alternative. Alternatively, I can say girl with jacket, with a jacket. Oh, it was a cartoon anyway. Jacket. So if we run this, remember the link is not working, so I will see the alternative text. So you can see there, girl with the jacket. So that is it. That's how we use alternative. So we will learn more about images as we continue in the course. So let's talk about the style attribute. So the style attribute is used to add styles to an element such as color, font, size, and more. So for example, let me just delete this first of all and remove this breakpoint over here. And now let me pick let me create a paragraph here, p tag, and hit there. So I'm just saying style is equal, this is now the style of this p tag over here. So I can say, actually it's not here, I'm just making some mistake. Cut that and just place on here. Just saying style is equal, let's say the color is is red, right? And then I can have my text here. This is a red paragraph, just like that. So if I run it, just save it and reload it. So you can see the paragraph is red because I've used a style to style this paragraph. So we will learn more about these styles in the next lesson. So let's talk about the language attributes. So you should always include the lang attribute inside the HTML tag to declare the language of a website page. So this is meant to assist search engine and browsers. So let's do an example here. So this one is specify the English as the main language here. So in this page here, make sure that on top of the here along the HTML, this one here, just make sure you include the lang to be English. English is just initialized like that, en. So this helps the browser to encode things in English. Yeah, that's it. So let's talk about the country code can also be added to the language code in the lang attribute. So the first two characters define the language of HTML page, and the last two characters define the country. So we can add something here and say that English US, because now we have defined the country there. Actually it should be capital letter, just like that. So this lang defines the language that we use in this page, and this US defines the country. For example, you are living in Kenya, it should be, no, I don't know how the issue for Kenya is. Anyway, it's just we have only this US, UK, and those. So we can check all the language codes in you can go and check online and see the initial for that differences the language. So let's talk about the title attributes. So the title attribute defines some extra information about elements. So the value of the title attribute will be displayed on tooltip when you mouse over the element. So for example, the tooltip, let me just do it here. So I have a paragraph here, Peter, and just like that, and then we include the title, and then I can say that I can put in some, say I am a tool. I'm a tool tip. It actually shows what's there when you move your mouse over. You mouse over that paragraph. And let's say this is paragraph. So then you can run this. First of all, let me just save this and then load it again. So when I move over here, you can see a tooltip. You can see this, I'm a tooltip. So where do we use this? So this actually gives us an extra information about the element, you see. So it's even in softwares you include those tooltips just to give you an extra information about that button or something that you're moving on. So, and also let's talk about the suggests. So we always use lowercase attributes. So for example, the HTML standard does not require lowercase attribute elements. So the title attributes, and all other attributes can be written with uppercase or lowercase, like title. Let's say it can be written like this. We can write them like title like this, and also we can do as title, just like that. So that is it, and let's talk about another suggestion, which is always a quote attribute values. So the HTML standard does not require quotes around attribute values. However, let's talk about the W3C. Recommends quotes in HTML and demands quotes for stricter document type like XHTML. So, for example, we can say that this one is now good, whereby I put this anchor tag here, and I can say www.serve.com, and now you can say, you can add here and say visit our website. So here you see I have visit our HTML. Actually I forgot this HTML. This is our HTML tutorials. This one is good now, but the bad one is when you say, let me show you. So what I mean here is that you see we have quotes here, right? We have the quote on this link over here, but the bad one, this now is good, but if I don't include these quotes here and just put maybe the link just direct like HTTPS and then double backslash, then I say www.serve.com and maybe like that. You see there's no quote there, so this one is bad. You must include those quotes there. So sometimes you have to use quotes. This for example, this one I want to do here is not going to display the title attribute correctly because it's contained as space. So if I say that P, let me just calm down, just move up just like that. So if I say P just like that, then I include the title. Title is equal to description, just like that. Description of let's say YouTube, just like that. So what have we done over here? This is just the so just remove this. I think I see that there's no quote here. What's wrong with you? So like this one here, you see this one, actually this one actually when you meet the quote over there, it's not going to display as it's supposed to be. So it's good, it's a good way just to put this quote there to describe the value. So that's it. So let's talk about a single or a double quote. So double quotes are around attribute value, are the most common in HTML, but single quote can also be used. So in some situations, when the attribute value itself contain a double quote, it's necessary to use a single quote. For example, if I say this one, I can say use this and say, for example, say the wolf, and then I can put a single quote here, and then over here I can now have double quote and say X mouse, and then I can have another last one, let's say X mouse, and what else? Just only the wolf. So here, what have I done here? Actually, this is this was in the paragraph, so I should do this. So here I should end it with a single quote, just like that. So you can have a single quote from in closing everything, and then that one that you want to to highlight is this X mouse here. So you can also do vice versa, whereby you use double quote over here, and then when you comes to this X mouse, you just put one single quote over there. So if I just save this, you can see there is these quotes. The outer one will not be there. This is our head. Actually, why is it not showing? Oh, actually there is nothing to show there. There is nothing just to show there. I can say maybe I should say using quotes. Using quotes. Okay, so save that and then you load it just like this. So you can see you can use quotes in such a way. Yeah, all of vice versa, I've already showed you that. So let's talk about this. The chapter summary is that all elements can have attributes. So for example, the href attribute of this type, this one here, this anchor tag here, specify the URL of the page the link goes to. As you can see, there is a URL here. And also the source attribute of img, which is the image, specify the path to the image of the to be displayed. And the width and the height attribute of an img provide the size information of the image. And also we have learned that alternative attribute of img provide an alternate text for an image when the image is not there or is broken or the link is broken. The style attribute is used to add style to an element such as color, font size, and more. And the lang attribute, which is lang attribute of the HTML tag, declares the language of the web page. And lastly, the title attribute finds some extra information about the element. For example, here the title here. So that is it. And so let's talk about a different topic, which is HTML headings. So we have discussed about the attributes. Now let's talk about the headings. So HTML headings are title or subtitles that you want to display on a web page. So let's talk about heading 1, heading 2, heading 2, heading 3, and see what we see. For example, here I'm just going to delete everything that is in here and remove all this. And now I just want to have the headings here. Of course, we have done this in the previous lesson, but you know, it is what it is. So H1, because I just want you guys to understand everything. H. So where is H1 here? Oh, Control Z. H, and I hit this one. And why are you not auto-completing? So okay, so I can edit this instead of just typing Control V 6 times. That is 1 3, yeah. So we have H1 here, and we should have H2, H3, and H4, H5, and H6. And we can also change this to H2 and H3 and H. Control Z. I should delete this to H4, H4, and have H5. Lastly, let's have H6. So what should I can say this is heading 1, heading 1, heading 1. What am I doing? So the other one is heading 2. Copy this, paste it there, paste it there, paste it there, paste it there, and then I can change this to 2, I can change this to 3, I can change this to 4, see 5, lastly 6. So let me just save this and see how the headings works. So heading 1 is the largest and heading 6 is the smallest. So let me reload this, and as you can see, heading 1, heading as said, this goes down like that. So what have you learned there? So HTML headings HTML headings are defined with the H1 to H6 tags. So H1, that one over there, it defines the most important heading, and H6 defines the least important heading. So we have seen all this, and we have seen the size, and that is it. So browser automatically, this is a note actually, browser automatically had some white space, a margin before the after headings. You can see that there is a spacing. So headings are important. For example, a search engine uses the heading to index the structure and the content of your web page, and also users often skim a page by its headings. So it is important to use heading to show the document structure. For example, H1 heading should be used for the main heading because it's the largest over there, and then followed by H2 heading, then the less important H3, and so on. So what you need to notice that US HTML, to use HTML heading for heading only. So use HTML headings for heading only, and don't use headings to make a text big or bold. So let's talk about these bigger headings. So each HTML headings has a default size. However, you can specify the size of any heading with a style attribute, and also using the CSS font size property. For example, here we have, let's use this heading 1 here, just keep that over there. So I have this heading 1 here, and I can style it and say that style. So this is just embedding the style within a tag. So I can say font size, this one here, the font size should be, let's say, 60 pixel, and just like that. And then I can say heading 1, just remove this and say heading 1. So let's run this and see how we can do some miracle around here using the style attribute and the font size here. So this is the font size. This belongs to CSS. So let's save this and run this, you can see now it's even bigger than that. So you can also increase some attribute using actually I can even put some color there if I want to. So that is it. Let's talk about what else do we need to talk here? I think we shall end there. Lastly, let's talk about HTML tag references. So for example, the tag HTML, this one defines the root of the HTML document. This one here, this HTML here, HTML. This attribute defines the root of the HTML document. Now this is the root. If you want to access this page, you can access through that. And also the body, this one here, defines the document's body. And H1 to H6 defines HTML heading. So you can also go for the complete list of available HTML tags. You can visit HTML tag references online and see what is there. Welcome back. So in this lesson we want to talk about HTML paragraphs. So a paragraph always starts on a new line, and it's usually blocks. They are a block of text. So HTML paragraphs. So the HTML p tag element defines the paragraph. So a paragraph always starts on a new line, and a browser automatically adds some white space as a margin before and after the paragraph. So for example, if I just delete everything around with us here, just remove this, and I declare p tag there, the p is meaning paragraph, and then I put my thing here, say that this is a paragraph, just like that, and then I put it out there, and then copy this again, copy that, and paste that here. And now here I just want to call this another paragraph. This is another another paragraph, right? So if I run this, let me just remove everything here, remove these heading tags, and then I save, and as usual, and reload this. What have you seen there? So this is how we create a paragraph in HTML. So I can even add the third one, and you can see there is automatic space there. Once you declare paragraph, there is a white space there, and that is what they are included there by what automatically. So let's talk about HTML display. So you cannot be sure how HTML will be displayed. So large or small screens and the size of the window will create different results. So with HTML, you cannot change the display by adding extra space or extra lines in your HTML code. So the browser will automatically remove any extra space and the line when the page is displayed. For example, if I come back here, and for now I just have this, and so I can say that this paragraph. Let me write something here. This paragraph, and then maybe I break it down. Break it down just like that, and let's say maybe, let's say contains a lot of line, and then maybe break down, and then in the source good there. And then I can say but the browser ignores it. So, and let me just have another one here. Just move that. Just copy this. Now this one. So this paragraph contains, let me just create a space there, and maybe between this source and between this source, create another space like that. And maybe like this. So let's run these lines and see whether there is any difference. So if I save this, remember I've just said it's going to ignore such as spaces and these breaks. And let's see, let me open it. And there, see what we have. Even though we just did some, can I call it some shoddy work? You see, the browser just automatically aligned them, and it's really good looking. So it just ignores these spaces and actually display the way it should be displayed. So let's talk about HTML horizontal rules. So the HTML tag, which is HR, which means horizontal tag, define a thematic break in HTML page, and is most often displayed as horizontal rule. So the HR, which is the horizontal element, is used to separate content or define a change in HTML page. So for example, if I just move this, if I click the head over here and pick H1, so in this H1 I say this is the head, this is heading 1, and then I create a paragraph, p tag there, and then I say this is some text, this is some text, and then put the full stop there. And now I just want to add another here, which is now an horizontal break, which is HR, just like that. And then I have another H2 down here, copy this, paste over here, and I can say this is heading 2, which is heading 2 now. Change this to heading 2. I wish there was a way you can just change one and poof, everything. Now this is text. I can say this is text 2 also, paragraph 2, and this is some other text. This is some other text, and then we have the horizontal break there, HR. So let's see what we have. So as you can see, this is just a line break, and a line break just draws a line and horizontal line there. So around this, so you can see this is some text, and we have an horizontal line here, and also this is heading 2, and we have another line over here. So that's where we use this horizontal rules. Yeah, so that's a rule anyway. Yeah, yes. So remember, the HR tag is an empty tag, which means that it has no end tag, like the break line, the BR. Remember that it had no, it was an empty tag. So let's talk about HTML line breaks. So HTML BR element define a line break, and we use BR if you want a line break, a new line without starting a new paragraph. So to do that, we can remove this, and I'll do what? Let me go fast. I think now time is almost. So I can click P over here, and I can now say this is, then I break BR. There's BR over there, BR tag there, and I can now continue graph, and then I can break again BR, yeah, and I can continue saying with a line break. Let's see, let me run this and see what we have, and load this. So you can see this line break here. Once you use that, instead of having one line, it breaks it down into another lines. So the BR tag is empty tag, which means that it has no end all tag. So let's talk about the poem problems. The poem will display on a single line. So for example, I have a P tag here, P tag, and in this P tag you can space like that. And for example, if I say my bunny lies over the ocean, and then I can say my bunny lies over the sea, my bunny lies over the ocean, bring back my bunny. This is just a story anyway. Ocean, then dot, and I say my bunny lies over the sea. Copy this, just paste on here. Can you scroll this up a little bit? Now I can change this to C, and then I can copy even this over here, just for example. Yes, copy over here, and maybe lastly I can say, bring my bunny, bring back to me. So what do you think? What do you think, guys? This would be just one line, right? This will be just one line. Let's run this. Save and load this. So you see, this is one line over there. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? So solution. So HTML, there is this keyword that we have here. We call it a pre-element. So the HTML pre-element defines a pre-formatted text. So the text inside a pre-element is displayed in a fixed width font, usually Carrier, and it actually preserves both space and line break. So if I say, instead of just this, and I call it now pre, and then close it again with the pre, and now if I run that, this is now the solution for that. So save, and you can see now we have done a very great miracle around here. So you can see, yeah. So that is a way of solving that kind of a problem. So let's talk about HTML tag references. So HTML tag references contain additional information about HTML element and their attributes. So we said P defines the paragraph, HR defines the thematic thematic change in the content, and the BR, which is a break inside a single line break, and a define a formatted text. So thank you. This is the last topic of today. So thank you for joining with me today. I appreciate so much. And guys, if you find this useful or you have learned something, please make sure you subscribe and share. Thank you so much, and goodbye.